She started out knowing little to nothing about wealth creation, and now she's a finfluencer who runs a course teaching people how to be dollar millionaires. This week we're featuring a woman who goes by the name Just Ivy Africa. This is She Means Business. I am your host, Claire Munde. Hi Ivy.
Hi.
Welcome to She Means Business.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, so now most people know you about through the Mover Society, and you also run a course that teaches people how to be dollar millionaires. But before that, you were in marketing. So give us a little bit of history of your academic background, then to where you are today.
Okay. First of all, I have to say it's so cool to be interviewed by you. People don't know that we were in school with Claire.
Yeah.
And I just have to say that it's Claire. You're doing so well. Congratulations, and thank you for having me.
Thank you.
So my career started, let me see, should I start from internship? I used to do telemarketing. I think every person should go through telemarketing. It really builds your character. Calling someone and then being hung up on, it's actually quite terrible. Then I moved to my first sales and marketing role, which was in Farmers Choice years ago in my 20s. I moved from a management trainee into the national sales supervisor. Again, character development, but in a very, very, very positive way, because I learned that just because you're a brilliant person doesn't mean anything. You need to be consistent and you need to be a smart worker. Then I moved into marketing agency. The first gig was in Yellow Moon. I was earning, I think, 10 to 15,000 Kenya shillings at the time, where we were doing a lot of experiential marketing. So doing events, doing activations in malls. You know, when you go to a mall and you see someone promoting some particular product or brand with like beautiful girls or handsome gentlemen, that was me. And then thereafter, I moved to another agency. Then I can say I think one pivotal point for me was working for the official marketing agency for Samsung. I was there for around 2 to 3 years. It really showed me, working with Koreans. It's not a joke. Koreans work.
Yeah.
In fact, to some point, it was toxic. In fact, Koreans right now are even getting over that toxic work culture. But those guys work. So there was no room to be number two. You could only be number one. So that's what I was taught while I was doing that. Then when I ended my employment stint, I was the client service director at a marketing agency called Raja Plus Limited. Literally one of the best places I ever worked. That's where I found one of my best mentors who helped grow me in, I think, in even womanhood. Because, you try and separate who you are as a person from your career, but, sometimes they gel pretty well. And then, I remember telling Amina, who was my mentor and boss at the time, that I needed to start my own thing and I needed to trust myself. If I had been working for brands and marketing brands brilliantly, why couldn't I treat myself as that particular brand and trust the process? And it's been 5 years.
Yeah. That's amazing. And you've talked about consistency and the importance of that. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But tell me, what has that journey been like? 5 years, self-employed, being your own boss, you have your own company or companies. What have been the key lessons you've learned so far?
Moving from employment to self-employment, one of the biggest lessons is if you're not good as an employee, it'll be very difficult for you to be good as an entrepreneur. People in employment think that you're there to work for a particular boss or a particular client. No, you're working for yourself. And if you don't have that discipline there, employment will teach you very fast that how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah.
So you better do things with a certain sense of discipline and a certain sense of excellence. I think the other key lesson I've learned transitioning from being an employee to now employing others is putting humanity first, putting the people aspect first. People are always going to be people. So when you're hiring them, sometimes you have to look at what is beyond the office. What are they bringing beyond the workplace? You could be working with someone who you feel is constantly fatigued, but are they a mother? Are they a father dealing with other things at the work, at home, for example? So you always have to put humanity first. That's what I realized. Because they're always to blame the boss, But when you work with people, you have to remember that people are people. The importance of clarity in your vision. So as an entrepreneur, you're the vision bearer. You're the one who knows exactly where it is you want to go. Or you should know exactly where it is that you want to go. And then surrounding yourself with people who'd get you there fastest, I think. But you won't move unless you're very, very clear in your vision. And nobody else in your organization will be able to share in that vision. You can only probably have someone who will help you execute it, but it's very difficult to find someone else who will probably share in that vision. As I said, surrounding yourself with people who will help you get there fastest is identifying people who've done or walked the path that you want to walk. Because I realized a lot of people, and no offense, to anybody in employment, but I noticed a lot of people in employment were giving me a lot of advice. And when I sat back with myself, I realized, man, imagine I'm trying to build a business and you never have.
Yeah.
So I get it, it's coming from a good place, but I needed to take a lot of the advice I was getting with a pinch of salt and surround myself with other entrepreneurs who have walked the same path that I want to walk. So off the top of my head, I think those are the lessons I would probably give in terms of transition.
And you've talked about putting the human before the bottom line, but where is the line that you draw? Because, I was having a conversation another day and people were talking about, sometimes people say, I want a mental health break. I'm not coming to work today. I feel like I'm not feeling well. So what's the line that you draw between, okay, mental health is good, is important, and you're just feeling like I don't feel like working?
Yeah, I feel like if you cultivate a healthy culture at the workplace to begin with, it won't be you versus your employees or you versus the line. I feel like boundaries will already be set. People will really understand expectations and they will move as expected. However, I'm someone who really trusts patterns. I trust evidence. And I also give chances because I am the product of so many chances from so many brilliant people who I have worked with. So if the pattern is negative, every day, every week you have you want a mental break, every week. If I am not able to assist and ask, how can I help you get better or do better? And if I can show you and show my accountant, or my accountant can show me that it's costing me money to allow you all these breaks, for example, without it coming back to me, then, maybe that's where I would absolutely draw the line. But I believe in cultivating culture and onboarding people from the beginning so that people know from the beginning that this is how things work and this is how things are set. Otherwise, what are we doing really?
Now I want us to talk about financial literacy. You are a finfluencer, if I could, and a thinkfluencer. What's a thinkfluencer first? And I see you've trademarked that, and the movers, Miss Money Munde. How much are your lawyers making? But that's besides the point. What's a thinkfluencer, and what made you interested in financial literacy?
That's a very good question. So let me start with what made me interested in financial literacy. The desire and the obsession, Claire, to be wealthy. After seeing how the wealthy lived, how the rich lived, I wanted that for myself, and I wanted it unapologetically. And then after realizing that this is something I want, the first step in that path is understanding money. And understanding the 4 pillars of money, which is how to earn it, how to save and invest it, how to protect it, and how to grow it. So I needed to understand money. So that's where the desire came from. And then how I ended up on Instagram is just a realization that a lot of the content I was consuming on Instagram myself was not adding value to me. And I realized if I'm going to spend this amount of time on this platform, let me add value to myself. And I'm a person who likes to move with others. So as I'm adding value to myself, I will add value to others. So that's how it came about. Being a thinkfluencer was me branding myself so I could stand out from the crowd. I've always thought of myself as more of an outlier. And it came about at a point in time when the term influencer had become so demonized. People just thought that's all you take pictures. And so I wanted to stand out. So I coined the term thinkfluencer, and that meant also to walk that talk. I create content, I believe, and people can let me know, that makes you introspect. Or makes you challenge others to also introspect. And then once you're done thinking about where it is that you want to go with your life, or even if it's fun content and you're like, how did Ivy achieve this? You act and move from there. So even like my segment Money Monday, every time I do a particular topic on Money Monday, or let me say maybe 90% of the time, I end up moving myself. So if I'm learning about how, one of the recent ones was how the wealthy live or what people have seen, I will take action and move money to an investment account because that's how the wealthy live. So my platforms actually hold me accountable. So that's how it began.
Okay, awesome. So you've talked about being deliberate about your branding. So tell us, what are the steps you've taken to make sure that you stand out of the crowd? Because when I look at your brand, when I think of financial literacy, I think Ivy, just Ivy Africa. So what are those steps that you could also tell the people who are watching about building a brand that makes impact?
What I work with is 3-pronged. So the reason I started talking about financial literacy, or my journey towards attaining financial freedom, was because most of the wealthy people or the visible people I was seeing on social media were not being transparent. So one of the prongs of my fork is transparency. So I really take people through my process. And I have a mentor who keeps asking me, why do you post the amount of money you have in your investment account? So do you think that's private information? I get it is private information, but for people to trust me, I need to be transparent in my process, and so I'm taking them through that journey. If I'm doing due diligence on something particular, I take them through that journey. If there's a particular asset class that is giving me the jitters, I take them through that journey. So transparency is one thing that I think has helped me stand out in an industry that has monetized ignorance.
Yeah.
Okay, so transparency is one thing. Authenticity. I'm the type of person, you come to my page, I will cuss. In fact, this interview is very tough for me because I can't say some of these words. I will cuss. I am very vocal about what I stand for, whether it's controversial or not. I will not mince my words in terms of what I stand for. So also that authenticity, showing up as I am, is another way that has helped me stand out. I'm sure people are listening to this and think, this is what we've had before. Can you imagine that's the system and that's the process? It is what you've had before, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
And I'm here because it's worked out. I mean, I don't think you'd have called me if I wasn't standing out, really. And I think the other one is offering value. My tagline when I began this journey was, I am learning and taking you with me. So everything I learned, I put it out there, So I'm not here to sell, but I'm here to offer value. And in me offering value, I accumulate trust. And trust in any business is your top currency. And if people can't trust you, you can't sell anything. But I also came from a place of offering value. And then finally, I have a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun with it. I do. In fact, that's not even finally. I think finally is consistency. Okay. People are not watching you because you're brilliant. People are not watching you because you're beautiful. People are not watching you because you're knowledgeable or you have skill sets or or you look good. People are watching you to see if you stay consistent. The one consistent thing for me has been, believe it or not, Money Monday. And I do have some naysayers who say, it's getting boring, whatever. But that's for me. If you can't show up to my page, and unless I'm sick or unless I'm out of office on leave, you will see that I have posted on Mondays. That is my one consistent thing. So I can say those. So my fork now suddenly I think has 5 prongs, but that's I think what I can say helps me to stand out.
Okay. Yeah. And you've talked about that transparency and the authenticity.
Yeah.
You're in a field, finfluencing is a bit niche. It's niche.
It is.
And sometimes clients expect a certain, and you said you curse. How do you balance between, okay, I need to have my bag, okay, and some clients may not appreciate that, and I'm just being me? Yeah.
I think Ivy's platform is just Ivy's platform. When I'm doing my own thing, my Money Mondays, my Ivy Sits With, my A Day With a Mover, I have created space for me to be myself. If a client comes in and I'm doing brand promotions, obviously there are rules, regulations to be followed. Yeah. And at the end of the day, brands like to work with people who are easy to work with. That's not the point in time for me to fight. That's the point for me to say, this is what you want, no problem, let's meet halfway. But they're also coming to me knowing and seeing that I am someone who does things the way I do them on my particular platform. Yeah. So let's say I'm very big, let me say, on maybe I'm pro-choice. And, if a church can't come to me, you know? I mean, we're going to fight. So it's also meeting each other in terms of, does the value of the client match my values? Does their budget match my budget? Because you can't come and silence my voice and you're giving me 10K, not dollars. If it's 10K dollars, I think we can talk. But I think that's how I achieve. I think that's how I can say I achieve that balance, having fun and still being serious with it. And Claire, one of the other thing that makes me stand out is I made money conversations fun and relatable. Everyone else was going left and I decided to go right, which is the other aspect of entrepreneurship. Asking yourself, what is it I'm not seeing? So this is what we are seeing. So what is it I'm not seeing? And then going on that tangent.
Okay. Yeah. And let's talk about money. You said you can't bring that 10K shillings. Dollars could be accepted.
I can take 10K shillings. It depends. It depends on the
So how do you go about the work that you do? We had Murugi on here a while back, and she was talking about, there's this thing about being paid for exposure, and then there's value exchange. How do you go about that, and how would you advise somebody who's trying to get into this field about exposure? Are you paying me, or are you telling me you're giving me exposure, or is there a value exchange, or I have a figure, I have a rate card, and if you can't afford it, it's okay. So how do you go about that?
Honestly, it depends on your season. In the beginning, exposure is value exchange. Because, let me give an example of myself. Let me just talk about myself. One of my biggest, longest lasting clients was Samsung. And in the beginning, they paid me through exposure. And exposure is attaching my name to a multinational global company like Samsung. If I was very harsh about a rate card at that particular point in time, I would not have been placed in the rooms that Samsung placed me in. And the first room that this exposure places you on is, whether it's a website, whether it's that Instagram page, that type of thing. I always tell people, take advantage of that exposure and do work that is so good that other people will see. Because at the end of the day, people are watching. Yeah. Exposure means getting the right people to see what it is that you want to do and where it is that you're going. So I really don't mind that. Clear to date, I'm still being paid in exposure because I have tapped into a different world, which is speaking. I do a lot of emceeing nowadays. I do a lot of panel moderation. Sometimes I'm not paid. Sometimes I pay to fly to those places, to sit on those panels, because I want the right people to see what it is I'm doing and where it is I'm going. So I always say exposure is some form of value exchange, so long as it matches with where it is that you're going. I think that's it, yeah. What else did you ask? You said trade, value exchange, exposure. Yeah. At the end of the day, also, your mindset is extremely important. I don't want people to go in thinking, oh, because I'm in a low season, let me only be paid in exposure. You do get that rate card and match your rate card to global standards. Don't only think Kenyanese. Sometimes the beautiful thing about being Kenyan is we're so Kenyan, but the detriment is we're too Kenyan. Yeah. Sometimes step out of the Kenyan box and see how other global people are doing it. Because at the end of the day, you do want to benchmark with global superstars. You're not going to be in Forbes as a Kenyan only. You know, it's also global. So do have that rate card and tell yourself, I am here to make money. Yeah. And I know there's money to be made. And the other thing is follow people like Murugi, follow people like me who speak openly about this. There's this trend I'm seeing where people say, I can't follow people who are only spending their money. I don't, that's not who I am, and it triggers me. I always ask myself, why is this person triggering me? There must be something positive that is making me feel uncomfortable. So I follow, and I read from their script, and I read from their playbook, and I copy and I paste. There's nothing new under the sun. Copy, paste, emulate the people who have come ahead of you. So this thing of let me mute and follow successful people, no. Sometimes stay there in your discomfort and see what they're doing right, and then follow suit.
Absolutely, I like that. Now we've talked a lot about influencing, but you also have a course that teaches people how to be dollar millionaires. Tell us a little bit about that, what inspired that, and what it looks like.
I actually don't call it a course, I call it a program. It's a 9 to 10 week program called, as you said, A Guide to Becoming a Dollar Millionaire. Why I started it? 2 reasons. I was broke. Let me just be honest. There was a time the brand partnerships weren't coming, the exposure wasn't coming, and I needed money. I needed to survive. So I looked at my buckets. Okay, so I have this knowledge, I have the skills, but my biggest bucket was I had networks. And I had networks of people who run $1 million companies, people who have managed $1 million wealth and dollar millionaires themselves. And that's rare, considering I think in Kenya there's around 7,000 to 8,000 $1 million millionaires. So I said, how can I monetize what it is that I have? So the course came about. I was like, you know what? Every time I speak to these mentors and these people who I know are already dollar millionaires, my first instinct is, man, I need to put you in front of a camera and you need to teach people these things. Remember what I said in the beginning, my brand was, I am learning and taking you with me. So literally that's why it came about. I just I needed to make money. And I needed to do it in a way that worked with my values and with what it is I had been doing prior. So I said, let me put these dollar millionaires in front of a camera and let them teach other people how it's done, you know. And it's been quite successful. We've done 4 cohorts, and we're moving into cohort 5. And Claire, when you hang out with these people, I'm sure you've hung out probably a few. There's a few things that really, really stand out. That again, I really needed my movers and my community of movers to know. And one is how they view money and how they talk about money. They speak in abundance. They set the prices. You know, you might think being a dollar millionaire means you're out there spending lots of money, but it's what you keep and what they keep. So they set their prices. They're always haggling over prices. And there's someone who can afford anything, but they're always haggling over prices. So they always set their prices. They always think in possibility. So they're never the ones who limit themselves. Other people might limit them, but they're never the ones who limit themselves. So they always ask, how can I afford this, or how can this make me more money? And I was like, these are mindsets that need to be taught to other people. The other thing is that they're obsessed with success. They almost live, breathe it every day, every night, and they move so fast. By the time you're speaking to someone in the morning, in the evening they've acted.
Yeah.
And that helped me with my procrastination and my laziness. And I said, we have to show other people these things. And these are fundamentals that we teach in the course as well. The other thing is their passive income works harder than them. Yani, their money is what is working on a daily.
Yeah.
So they've moved from a point of exchanging time for money, and now they're able to literally sleep and they're still earning. And this was through careful decisions that they made that compounded well. You know, when we talk about compounding, it's not only about money, but it's about also compounding time. And dollar millionaires have figured that out. So when I analyzed, and they run businesses.
Yes. Yes.
Not to say you cannot become a dollar millionaire from employment, but the ones I know and have interacted with and the ones who've come to teach us in class run successful businesses or invest in successful businesses. So I said, out of all this, man, like, people need to know.
Yeah.
So let me put them in a program called A Guide to Becoming a Dollar Millionaire, and also put them in a WhatsApp group where they can speak, grow community, meet each other. And yeah, the rest is history. Yeah, it's doing very well, actually.
Yeah, congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
And I like the way you say haggling, because sometimes people are embarrassed about haggling,
Yep.
but the millionaires, the dollar millionaires are doing it.
That's how they stay wealthy. They don't just splurge. That's how they stay wealthy. Have you ever sat across a table with someone who can buy the restaurant you're in, but they split the bill with you? They're like, I've drank my water, I've had a salad. You had what? Pay for your own stuff. Pay for your own stuff, yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
that's really good. Now let's talk about, balancing your buckets, because you said, there are times that you're doing well here, times you're not doing well there.
Yeah.
How do you go about it? Because you have your course, you have your finfluencing. What other things do you have going on to make sure that you're never like totally dry?
Yeah. What can I say? I've learned to leave money on the table so I can focus. Sometimes when you say what else are you doing so that you're never really dry, I felt like that really stretched me to the point where I was forgetting that this financial literacy, this finfluencing, is what has built me to this stage. And if it's working, why change a success? So I've learned to leave money on the table that is going to make me lose focus and lose sight of the vision here. And the vision here is clear. Remember, beginning I told you as an entrepreneur, you have to be a vision bearer. I have such big plans for Move for Society, but then nowadays I've learned to just keep quiet about my plans, especially on camera. They're here, so let me work on them and come back maybe 2 years from now, and then we can talk about that. But I know exactly where it is that I want to go, and I have my 2 feet in the pool of my financial literacy business. So. And that is what has helped me. So I think at that time, maybe I was stretched. I was trying to do too many things. But now that I'm focused on this, and I have this thing here, you won't see me do a fashion business. You won't see me open a restaurant. You won't see me. You will see growth from this pool of my financial literacy. So now you see for Move Society, so now the financial courses did very well. I started doing career courses. You'll also see life literacy courses, because also some of the members of my community even got a coaching session on how trauma affects their financial mindset. But it's the same pool, but it's just branching out. Honestly, I'm focusing on this right now. So this thing of saying you must have 7 streams of income eventually, but those 7 streams of income will come from one place of focus.
Okay, I think that's amazing. Now let's talk about, is it a reel you put on Instagram about we need to stop shaming people about certain things, and there was about home ownership. In Kenya, you need to own a home.
I'm telling you.
You need to own a home. What are you doing at your age? So talk about that. What are some of these misconceptions that people have that, you need to have this by this age? And we were even talking before we started this interview, plot. Who are you without a plot in Kenya? So what are some of these misconceptions people have that they're putting their money maybe in the wrong avenue for them at that time? Speak about that.
Okay. Every time I'm about to speak about finances, I always like to give 2 caveats. One, I'm not an expert. I'm someone who started my financial literacy journey around 4 or 5 years ago. So what I'm speaking is based on what I have experienced, my lived experience. Okay, so I'm not a CFA. But if you come for my courses, please, it's CFAs who are teaching you and that type of thing. And 2, I also come from a place of privilege. I did not grow up as the average Kenyan. So I always have to say that first, so that people take what it is that I'm saying with a pinch of salt. I feel like, especially in Kenya or in Africa, we really put a lot of weight on things that prove your status. A big car, rangy, a big house, that plot of land, blah, 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 as opposed to focusing more on what wealth truly is. And wealth is what works when you're not. So buying that plot of land, it's because, and remember Claire was saying, for the past 40 years, that's what has been marketed to us. People aren't marketing money market funds. People aren't marketing stocks. I remember even at the end of news, you would see the stock, whatever, and I used to switch off because I'm like, what is this? So we have a lot of unraveling and a lot of unlearning to do about what has been fed to us as what is as a measure of wealth, okay? A car, for example, very nice to have, a depreciating asset. It'll never gain value unless we get to the points of vintage, for example. Another measure of wealth that has been taught to us in the wrong way. Whereas right now, I firmly believe people should set their own standard of wealth. And it needs to be high though, because you see right now, for example, you can be watching this and your bank account is empty. You know, that's a reflection of your standard. Huh? And that's not the standard you should be setting. You should aim higher. If it's where you are, it's fine. Breathe, forgive yourself, and move. But we should allow people to live.
Yeah.
Some people are so happy being in a one-bedroom house with their children. That's not my standard of success. My standard is eventually, I will own a home. Maybe not in Kenya, but eventually, not now. But I will get the interests I have earned from my investments to buy that home for me.
Yeah.
By the time I'm flexible in that sense, that is my personal sense of success. Not me going to queue for a loan to get 10 million shillings to get a house, but I don't have that 10 million shillings in cash myself.
Yeah.
So I feel like those are some of the that you have to that Aka is what's going to open doors for you, that you have to have that plot of land, that you have to own a home. Now, the real flex is saying that I can afford to buy a home because I do have that 10M, but I'm not buying it. I'm waiting for my money to buy my home for me. Yeah.
Wow, I think that's powerful because, you know, you said, I remember there was someone who was saying that she's in an industry where she had to take out a loan to get a German vehicle because she needed to look a certain way. So, but then also that thing about your standards. Are you comfortable in that one bedroom, really? You need to change that a little bit.
Even the standards clear of the people you surround yourself with. You know, if you're constantly complaining about your broke colleagues constantly asking you for lunch, if those are the spaces you're staying in, that's a reflection of your standards. Same to your friends, to your networks. If you these are actual reflections of what you stand for, you know, and sometimes that can be a bit of a hot take because, you know, people will say, so am I supposed to leave these people that I've grown up with, you know? If you want to elevate, unfortunately, you might have to separate from some of these people. It's just the way. And in fact, even in our program, we do have a networking and partnerships class. And the last one we had a fantastic person come in, Earthshot 2022 prize winner. People need to Google what the Earthshot prize is. It's £1 million. So these are the type of people we speak. This is someone who grew up in abject poverty. And for her to reach the heights she's reached today, she had to make the difficult decision of completely separating herself from the people she grew up with. Standards. Standards.
It's a hard one, but it's true. And talk to us about ambition. You're an ambitious person, always have been. Tell us about being ambitious, because I think I watched an interview you did, and you said you're not the person who's sitting back, you're asking for those opportunities. Sometimes there are people who are like, you know, I'm good, you should see me. What do you say to people like that? There are so many people who is going to see you. So talk to us about that.
Oh man, you know, you're just a speck. Yes, you're a speck on earth, and even when you think you've reached, you've not really reached. And it's a combination of ambition and humility, knowing that I want it and knowing that to get there I need to humble myself to win. And also from lessons where I thought I have arrived and I've lost opportunities by putting out that I've arrived, you should know who I am. Do you know I'm just Ivy Africa? So the person, your dream client, your dream employer, your dream husband, your dream wife, your dream friend has no idea who you are. Always, that's how I move. My dream client, for example, would be someone like, let me see, BlackRock. BlackRock has no idea who I am, so I have to be humble and ask for opportunities and take steps, because that step will start from maybe a bank in Kenya to, you know, to where it is that I want to go to. So, man, just humble yourself if you want to win. Life is about eating humble pie. And also, when you go back home and look in the mirror, are you comfortable with that person? Or is it, maybe today I was a bit too arrogant, maybe you need to be comfortable when you go back and when you're by yourself. If not, then there's really nothing else we're doing. But yeah, I'm always asking for opportunities, and asking is in various forms. We spoke about it earlier, just by virtue of you having a red card, that is you asking. You're ready to ask, okay? When you get a job, doing it to the best of your ability is signaling for you to get more work, for you to get an extension. When a job is about to end, whether it's an employment, whether it's a contract, 4 months to go, ask for feedback. How did I do? Did I do well? What could I have done better? Because that's another signal for you to get. Asking for money. Sometimes also we're very ashamed. The things that we shouldn't be shamed for is asking for your payment. Asking for payment is, just imagine, pay me. We had an agreement. Just pay me. And I'm constantly in a state of asking. And whether people think it's begging, whether people think it's shameful, I don't care. I cannot afford to be shameful. I have bills to pay, and I have a successful life to live. I have holidays I want to go to. I have dreams, so I cannot afford the shame that comes with, I can't ask. And there's this misconception that people, when you don't ask for your money after a particular project, you're easy to work with. Nah, fam.
Wow.
Me, I'll ask for my money. You told me you pay me by the 12th. On the 10th, I will send a reminder, hey, payment is supposed to be paid on the 12th. This is just checking if we're on track. Because that's the other thing also. You can't leave it to other people.
Wow, I think that is so powerful, that people think that you're easy to work with when you don't ask for your payment. That's bad. So let's talk now a little bit about work-life balance. You're a mom, you're a business owner. There's a lot that goes behind that. How do you balance the two? Is it balanceable?
The dreaded work-life balance question. That I never really know how to answer, other than the fact that I have learned to create work-life harmony and to live in the moment. And Claire, the example I'll give is, let's say, over Easter, I know there's a particular project I'm supposed to be working on, but over the Easter period, I did have the time to sit on my laptop and figure it out, but I spent time with family. And for my children, for example, to come and say, Mama, I just want a hug before saying goodnight, I live in that moment of that hug so much that you drown out the noise of that deck or that proposal you're supposed to be writing. So I've just learned to live in the moment. If I'm on stage, I'm seeing a particular gig and people are laughing and people are clapping, that is not the moment I'm thinking, I didn't finish my child's project for school. That's the moment for me to live there and say, I'm doing well at this and people are appreciating it. So I live in harmony, and I live in the moment. This thing of constantly, I really don't think it's humanly possible for everything to go well at the same time. I don't think it's humanly possible for us to have everything at the same time. It's the plate you're presented with at that particular time. Are you enjoying every morsel, every bite, and making room for the next plate to come? And whether the plate is family, whether it's career, whether it's yourself, because I said that thing, sometimes you are the one who's drowning, but your kid is smiling and your work is flourishing. You have to live and appreciate the moments and the steps that make that particular harmony, not balance. I don't think you'll ever be balanced. And I never want it to be.
Harmony.
Yet I'm a Libra and we work in balance. Let me tell you, it's a problem. Do you believe in those zodiac things?
Yes. A bit. I'm a Taurus.
You're like my daughter. Do you know Libras and Tauruses, where we live in harmony?
Really?
We do.
Okay.
You doubt it.
I
We'll have lunch sometime. You see,
we're
harmonious.
Okay, now let's talk about what's the biggest financial mistake you've made and what did you learn from that?
Every time I used to be asked that question, I used to say when I bought my car at 30, a big loan buying a Benz, there was no need. But very recently, and this is a video I need to do, I realized a mistake that I had been making. Now, Claire, I'm someone who always tells people, before investing, before even meeting somebody, do your due diligence. The mistake I was making was treating due diligence as a one-time event. Especially with finances, you have to do due diligence consistently, every 3 months, because anything can change.
Okay.
Even people who had money in Chase Bank, you'd think a bank can never go down, but it went down. There is no such thing as a completely safe investment, a completely safe asset. Even when you're told this is low risk, it doesn't mean that you're completely free of risk of losing your money. So I had a conversation with my lawyer over the weekend, and I said, every company we've ever worked with, all these long-term contracts I have, all my investments, do due diligence again. And don't only do technical due diligence, because you're a lawyer, you understand. Technical is, do they have cases in court?
Yeah.
Is anyone suing them? Who is on the CR12? Who is the owner of this company? It's also social. Pick up the phone, call an organization's employees, you'll be surprised what they say. If they are not happy, there's an issue. Call people in the industry. If someone is flouting themselves as someone who is big in tech, tech is big, or rather tech is small actually. The world is small. Call people in the industry and keep doing consistent due diligence. I realized I treated it as a one-time event and I got burnt recently, and there's money I've lost. And when people trust you, so that for me is something I've realized is a mistake. Treating due diligence as a one-time event. Never again, Claire.
Wow.
3 months.
Yeah.
Even if I have a contract with you for a year, I will keep checking. I will keep checking on you, I'll keep checking. Even if I've put my money with you for 2 years, I will keep checking, I'll keep checking, I'll keep checking.
Wow, that's a big one. Talking about calling the employees, 100%. Finding out, wow, it's not a one-time thing, and it's deep actually.
It's so deep. You
so many facets.
You have to keep doing it, because the other thing is I've realized out here, people are not what they seem. And people always think the more visible someone is, the more successful they are. People have become geniuses in borrowing credibility.
Yes.
And they borrow credibility from being visible on social media. And being visible on social media and associating themselves with certain people. So we'll come for this interview, you'll give me visibility, and people will assume Ivy is extremely successful. But if you pick up the phone and her team member here or her employee says we've not been paid for 5 months. So due diligence, man, that is a big thing that I've learned. I'm telling you, as recent as last week.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
I like being honest and vulnerable in these interviews, because there's nothing else I have.
I know. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Wow. Now tell us a little bit about the kinds of passive income that people should be thinking about. And you said everybody's situation is different. So what are some of the passive income sources that you like? And what are some of the common ones that Kenyans go to? And what are the things that we should be thinking about?
I think before you even tell someone the types of passive income or whatever that you should be thinking about, I feel like it starts from a point of self-awareness. What is your risk tolerance? Because you say, me, I'm high risk. So most of the time when I speak to people, they cringe at what I'm saying, because me, I'm a risk taker. If today I lost 2 million bob from whatever, imagine I have to sit with myself, cry and move on. So always start from the point of understanding your risk tolerance. Then understand your goals. Our goals are different. Me, as a mother of 2, with the expenses I have, speaking to a childless person who's 20 years old, very different. And then now work on your financial literacy. For me, the biggest thing I will tell people, again, before understanding passive income, blah, 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 is don't put your money in something you don't understand. If you're not able to explain it to a 6-year-old, 7-year-old child, don't put your money there. So just start by first understanding self-mastery and knowing that you can understand it. Then from there, let's move to the things that are new interest. So you have, for example, your regular money market fund. Please, number 4, please always build an emergency fund. If today, Claire, you lose your job, if I lose my job, if I lose my business, am I able to sustain myself for 3 to 6 months? If not, start from there. Forget your passive income, but start from there. Start building an emergency fund. Then look at the most common, which is one of the top performing investments in the past 100 years, which is stocks and equities. Which companies are you going into? Which ones are you buying? And right now, with the trade war, I'm not going to say much, but pay attention. This is not the time to work on emotion. Pay attention to what is happening in the market. Sometimes I also tell people, think about the things that you love. Because I know we say money is slow, steady, whatever, but I have learned to invest in things that I find fun and enjoyable, which is alternative assets. One of the most top performing alternative assets is fine wines. I don't know if you knew that.
No.
Do you know that?
No.
When I learned that, I was like, can I go to South Africa and find myself a cask of some fine wine? So sometimes also inject fun in what it is that you're putting your money into. I know we don't like talking about it, but at the end of the day also, if you figure out real estate in a good way, it's actually a very good way for you to also make some passive income. What else can I say? If you're an angel investor in businesses, that type of thing, that's another way to look at passive income as well. And I believe those are the ones that I would talk about. And of course, when we talked about stocks, there's exchange-traded funds, which is a basket of stocks, which we are familiar with. But don't listen to Ivy. Do financial literacy and figure out what works for you, because what works for Ivy might not necessarily work for you. Because even passive income, as we said, you don't have to put in too much effort, but you have to put in the effort in continuous due diligence and checking your statements and checking that the money is working. And right now, something that's a trend I'm starting to see in our country, and thank God it's starting to move up, is special funds. special funds like the Mansa X, special funds like the Oak Fund, special funds like the one I personally have, which is the Kuza Momentum Fund. They invest in stocks, both offshore and local, and also real estate. They'll give you, when you ask for their portfolios, they'll give you what it is that they invest in, and they can make you money up, down, swinging up, down, because of volatility in the market. So those are the things you need to be looking at. But it always starts with understanding yourself first.
Yes. So understand yourself and do your due diligence.
Do your due diligence.
Every so often, as you said.
Yeah.
And what's the best financial decision you've ever made?
Taking steps towards becoming financially literate. I am so different, Claire. I am so different. And it's very difficult for someone to cheat me when it comes to how money works. And I think even one thing that we disregard when it comes to financial literacy is understanding how to master your emotions when it comes to money. So I'm no longer an impulse buyer. I'm no longer someone who just follows trends. For example, I don't even have crypto because I don't understand it enough to explain it to my children. And until I do, not to discount that it works for people, it does. And we even do have a module of that in our program. But I'm just so steady that I can't be swayed. And that's what financial literacy does for you. You take a bite of, what is this that our famous athlete says? You take a bite of vitamin N every day. You just say, no. Ivy, do you want to buy this house? Nope. Ivy, by now you should own a house. No. Ivy, do you want to buy a new car? No. Ivy, don't you think? No. So I'm always saying no, and that's what financial literacy has done for me. Understanding how money works means saying no often, but your yes is so much more meaningful because you've put a lot of thought and mind into it. So my best financial decision is understanding money. Other than, of course, the various investments that I do have, because my portfolio is beautiful.
Okay, I like that.
It's my most valuable asset. When you ask me, what's the most expensive thing you own? My investment portfolio.
Your portfolio.
My portfolio is beautiful.
Awesome. So that bite of vitamin N, I like that.
Yeah.
And as you said, you should be able to explain it to your child.
You do.
Yeah. I think the Diary of a CEO, he talked about the Feynman technique. You should be able to break it down simply. If you can't, you still need to do work on that.
You still need to do work.
Yeah.
People. And the road to financial freedom is long, huh? It can also be short, but it's long, and that's why it says it requires you to be very, very steady and drown out the noise. Particularly in my industry, where another measure of success is to post yourself balloons on social media with a house key, with a car key, you need to just see it, clap for people, move in silence, and then the true wealthy people. You can pass them in the streets, Claire. And I feel like that's where I want to get to.
And to take you back, you said that these days you're a bit conscious about telling your plans, especially on camera. Why is that? Did you have a bad experience, or is it like a jinx, or what?
I feel like psychologically, your brain is tricked into believing you're working towards it already. Yes, you are, but it's also a psychology thing. Huh? Also, I don't know the audience. And I don't need them to come back and give me feedback on those plans. And I don't need them to hold me accountable based on their own projections. I really don't need that. So nowadays I'm more in tune with coming to... I still need to be transparent in terms of the process because that's what my brand is built on. But there are certain things I've learned to keep to myself. There are certain... I need to be my own safe space.
Yes. And talking about accountability, you talked about mentorship, and you're a product of people who have held your hand and things like that. What role do you think mentorship should play? And you said you should look for those people who you aspire to be. So how do you go about that? Because sometimes people talk about mentorship. I want a mentor. How do you go about identifying a mentor and even getting that mentor?
Again, we actually discussed this in our program because mentorship, I feel, and networking is extremely important. But there's two things we don't talk about enough. Networking and looking for a mentor is extremely overrated if you yourself are not someone you'd like to be associated with. So you're going out there to try and find this powerful, wealthy woman or wealthy man to guide you, but you're not guidable. You're not teachable. You're not working. You're at a very low point in your life. You need to have something to offer to mentors and to networks. Otherwise, no one will want to be associated with you. Okay? And I see this a lot when I go for events. People are like, Ivy, mentor me. I even give them my email. Nobody ever responds to those emails. Nobody writes.
Really?
Nobody says anything. And even by the time someone is writing, you have nothing to offer. So networking is overrated if you're not working on yourself. Mentorship is overrated if you're not mentoring yourself. You have to start with who you are. Now, at that particular point, once you've seen that you're becoming more of a brilliant person, you have knowledge, you have skills you're applying, and you want to now build your networks, chemistry is so important. So I always say mentorship and coaching is very different. Coaching is something you pay for. You're paying for an accountability partner, when mentorship is a service. And it's quid pro quo. Your mentor is mentoring you, but you're also giving them something in return. It is a service. And these are busy people. Successful people are busy people. So for them to take time out of their busy schedules to mentor you, you know, you need to be sure. And you need to have chemistry, because mentorship goes beyond work and career and business. It goes personal. So I always say, there's this particular mentor I have who, if you're extremely introverted, shy, she's not the one for you, but she's the one for me. So you see, you have to click. And me, someone who's extremely introverted, may not be the one to mentor me. Because I'm a go-getter, I'm loud, we might not click. So also work on, do you click, you know? Proximity for mentorship is also very important. I get it that you can say I'm your online mentor, but the best mentorship works when you're in the same, let's even just start with country, or same industry. That's proximity is very, very also important for mentorship to work. The other thing is, and I can't say this here, but if your mentor gives you advice, use it, work on it, and work on it quickly. Otherwise, you're wasting their time. And they will notice, because remember I said these people move quickly, and they will notice that you're a waste of time, and they will move on. So when you have the opportunity to have a great mentor, take their advice. Take their advice and ask them for feedback. And also note that the people who always want to bring you down are people below you. A real, true, good mentor has done so well for themselves that all they want to do is see you succeed. They will never bring you down, they'll not put you down. So also take note of some of these things. And that is very particular for peer-to-peer mentorship. Because it is possible for your peer to mentor you. But you need to be able to gauge, by the time you're telling this peer about your dream, about your goals, see how they react. If it's that's what you want to do, versus that's a brilliant idea. What is the next step? Gauge from there.
Are you someone
it takes
you would
discernment.
want to be associated with?
Are you you yourself? You want a mentor, but what are you doing?
Value. It reminds me of someone who was talking about, there's this lady who wanted to meet another CEO, and she finally got the chance. But then she froze. So he was just saying, you have to have content. Do you have value? Content. You're just there, like, and she was like, I've been wanting to meet you. And then he was like, I'm here. So, content.
Content. And I like that you say that. Are you someone you want to be associated with? And in that same tangent, in that same vein, you know, some people sit in a bubble thinking that they're really good, that they they're the best that they can be. If you're struggling to understand whether you're someone you want to be associated with, write a list of your 5 friends, or the 5 people you spend the most time with. Write their names, and then write their character. Write what you think about them. Maybe 2-3 words. Just write them down. If most of the keywords are negative, that person is slow, they are not ambitious, that's who you are. That's who you are. And do you want to be associated with someone? Do you think someone will want to be associated with someone who's slow, unambitious, broke, negative, like a negative Nancy? So please, if you're spending, the people you spend the most time with, if you can describe them positively, then that's who you are.
What self-work there.
Self-work.
Let's switch gears a little bit. What do you do for fun?
I dance, man.
Okay.
I like dancing. I like going to dance sometimes. I'm getting old.
You're getting old.
Let me tell you, aging is a privilege. Claire, please.
Come on.
We were in primary school together. You
I'm
know
not
this.
old. So you're not old.
Okay, I'm getting older. You know, and it's a privilege. It's a privilege. But so I really enjoy dancing. And I enjoy traveling. And Claire, I discovered I'm the type of person who, instead of discovering new places, I like traveling to the same places over and over because my standard of service is set. So I'd much rather visit the same place over and over than jinx or try and happen and chance upon something else. So I travel, I dance. I don't read books for fun. I read books for function. So let me not say I read. Imagine it's so functional for me because I need the knowledge. Let's work with dancing and traveling.
So what's the functional book you're reading right now?
I'm reading The Lean Startup. It is, It's not exciting, but it's necessary. It's not an exciting book, but it's a necessary book.
That's growing up, yeah?
Yeah.
That's adulting, yeah.
That's adulting. Because I'm building a startup.
Yeah.
So I need to understand how other people have done it and to get ideas. Because, money. Money in business is needed. So you need to understand how people have done it,
Yeah. And what does success look like to you? You talked about, yes, you want to be rich, you want to be wealthy. But other than that, if you could describe what success means to just Ivy Africa, what's that?
I feel like my notion of success keeps changing. But right now, I'd say two things. Success to me is me coming home after a long day of work and my kids want to come and greet me as opposed to want to go to the bedroom because I'm annoying.
Yeah.
That they're proud of me and they're like, Mama, welcome home. And the second thing is time. It's one thing to have all the money in the world, but right now, where I am in my season of entrepreneurship, it's literally teetering between self-employment and now really truly running a business. So I'm making the money, yes, but my time is not what I need it to be. I want to have all the time in the world. That for me is what success is to me. Being wealthy in terms of time and being wealthy in terms of association. My kids want to be associated with me. My family wants to be associated with me. They're proud of me. Other people want to be associated with me. So social capital and that time wealth as well. And health, man. Am I able to do what it is I'm doing now when I'm 60, when I'm 70? Am I able to, That's what I would say success is to me.
And you've talked about moving between self-employment and, you're running a business. And, being a brand, it's a lot about you. So what do you see for just Ivy Africa some 3 years, 4 years down the line? I know you said you won't give us all the details, but what do you see? Because you are the brand. So when you think of moving from self-employment, you cannot necessarily remove yourself totally. So what does that look like? It's
steady, for sure. And that's why I've built Move a Society. Right now, yes, it is latching onto my brand. But when we've done the revenue calculations, I'm very, very pleasantly surprised as to how quickly it's moving. So you'll see just Ivy Africa she'll still be a big brand doing her own thing, but she will be fully fledged CEO running that particular business. And I will know that I'm running a business well if I can disappear for my 3 months, 6 months, and my business is still able to do well without me. And right now, you see, if I disappear for 6 months and I have brands I'm promoting on social media, I might not be able to. That's where you'd see me. I'll apply a lot of technology. I'll apply a lot of my learnings to make sure that I'm able to step away for business for 6 months and things are fine.
And for that person who is starting up, you've talked a lot about legal, your lawyers and whatnot. Sometimes when people are starting up, they're just like, I'm the everything. You've seen those reels on Instagram. I'm the editor, I'm the photographer. So where do you strike a balance between, okay, I'm starting up, I don't have all that cash flow, and I need to have those professionals to ensure that this will actually grow into something that is self-sustaining?
In the beginning, I was everything. But I had knowledge from my marketing experience. So I had looked at contracts before. I knew how brands work. So I utilized my knowledge in my season of lack or my season of growth to pivot. So if you're starting, gain knowledge. Gain knowledge, read your books, surround yourself with experts. Apply that knowledge so that you can gain skills and then keep upskilling. Don't ignore the season you're in. Don't want to jump from 1 to 5. 1 and 2 are seemingly the most boring seasons of your life. The people that we really need to glorify 1 and 2. That boring stage where all you're doing is learning and nobody knows who you are and all you're doing is building and nobody understands the sweat. Because even for me, Munde, just Ivy Africa, whatever, I built myself for 2 years. That boring work, and thank God I had the backing of that YouTube channel I was on. But I built myself trying to gain credibility in the financial industry for 2 years. I'm still even doing it. So don't discount that learning season of your life. Learn, and you'll be surprised how easy it will be now to move from 2 to 5 after you have the knowledge and you have the skills.
It's the same thing they say, the first million is hard, then after
Imagine, honestly,
It's
it's
easy,
actually
yeah.
quite surprising.
Yeah,
But now $1 million is where
It's
we're
now,
getting to.
yes,
Because that's the
yes.
reason actually I started to become a dollar millionaire. I'm so obsessed with becoming a dollar millionaire.
Yes.
It's actually an obsession. It's an obsession, and I'll get there.
Yes,
Yeah.
you will.
Yeah.
Now, as we come to a close, I'd like you to look at the camera
Yeah.
and speak to our listeners and our viewers, somebody who's starting their own business or someone who is just trying to rise up the career ladder, wherever they are. What is that one thing that you would tell them to focus on to make sure that they get to where they want to be?
If you're starting out, congratulations. It's a big deal to even make the step to start. Do the self-work. Introspect. Ask yourself, why not me? If you want to succeed and you have the opportunity, don't say, why me? Ask, why not me? And stop blame shifting. It's not about where you grew up. It's not about where you worked. It's now about you. Start looking at yourself. Look inward, self-introspect, and move. And all the best.
Awesome. You've heard it from Just Ivy Africa, self-introspection. And are you the kind of person you would like to be associated with? Deep questions to think about. This has been She Means Business. I have been your host, Claire Munde. Until next time, have a good one.